We've all been taught that working hard is the only way to be successful, that you have to sweat and struggle your way to the top. And yes, effort matters. But here's the problem: too much effort, especially when fueled by fear or desperation, actually shuts down the very parts of your brain that you need to succeed. Studies show that chronic stress shrinks your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that plans and solves problems. And at the same time, it overactivates your amygdala, your brain's fear detector. So while you're pushing harder, your brain starts panicking, your decisions start to become reactive, and your motivation drops. Hey friend, I'm Christy, board certified nurse practitioner, health coach, and trauma survivor. Welcome to Trauma Free, where I help you change your mind and change your life just like I did. Today, we're diving deep into the science behind how too much effort can become self-sabotage and why embracing trust might be your biggest power move yet. We're told that if you're not succeeding, you just need to keep trying harder. But what if trying harder is sometimes the very thing holding you back? Imagine working for a company that you believe you could move up in, but you just keep getting passed over for promotions even though you work late, take on extra projects, and follow all the rules. And your boss is constantly giving raises to less qualified company favorites. Well, after a while, something changes. And when a big opportunity finally opens up, you don't even apply because your brain has learned no matter how hard I work, it won't pay off. That's learned helplessness. And it's when repeated disappointment trains your brain to stop trying because no matter what you do, nothing will improve. This can cause you to become trapped where you think, why should I bother? Nothing works. But the truth is, neuroplasticity means you can rewire this belief because learned helplessness is from conditioning from bad programming. Now, we'll explore the counterintuitive solution of doing less but with more trust. So let's talk about the reverse effort principle. It's when will and imagination are in conflict, and imagination always wins. So in other words, trying harder doesn't always help. In fact, it often backfires if your subconscious doesn't believe in the outcome. Your basal ganglia, the brain's habit center, learns best when you're calm and not forcing. That's why breakthroughs often happen when you're not actively trying, or your best ideas form when you're not thinking, which is called passive consolidation. And it's when your brain integrates information in rest states, especially during sleep or when you're relaxing. So this is why sleeping on it works better than staying up and grinding until 2 a.m. For example, a study found that tasks involving creativity and insight were significantly improved after periods of wakeful rest and when in relaxed states. And this is when peak performers actually enter a flow state where productivity greatly increases. So if you've ever had an idea pop up in your mind while in the shower, or the solution for a problem came to you while out on a walk, this is due to you being in a trust state and not a panic one. We've all been taught that trust is about not taking action, and instead, we should just let things happen to us as they should. And surrendering means giving up. But neuroscience says something else entirely, because research on flow states, which are those moments of effortless focus and when your best work seems to just flow from you, because you're not forcing anything and you're operating from a relaxed concentration, not pressuring yourself for the answer. Flow activates the transient hypofrontality part of the brain, which quiets the prefrontal cortex just enough to dissolve your self-doubt and fear, and it's replaced with intuition and creativity. Then there's the default mode network, or DMN, a set of brain regions that lights up when you're not focused on a specific task, like when you're walking or showering, and it helps you to solve complex problems, connect the dots on unrelated ideas, and tap into higher perspective thinking. So that aha moment that just comes to you in the shower, that's your DMN in action. But here's the thing, none of that can happen when you're scared, because when you operate from fear, your brain starts to overanalyze and it tries to control every outcome. And in doing so, you shut down the very systems that make insight possible. But when you trust in your timing, your effort, and yourself, your nervous system calms. Your prefrontal cortex re-engages, and suddenly solutions start showing up because you made space for them. We're in the middle of a trust epidemic, impacting people almost everywhere, called the trust deficit disorder, which is the subconscious belief that if you don't control it, it will fall apart. And this belief, it doesn't just affect your mind, it changes your brain structure. The cerebellum is only 10% of your brain's volume, but it holds over 50% of your brain's neurons, making it the secret weapon behind automaticity, which is the effortless mastery of skills and behaviors that you've done over and over. The cerebellum is what enables athletes to make split-second decisions and how you're able to drive while thinking about dinner. It handles the how once you've already learned the what. But it only works when you trust. So if you constantly second guess, overanalyze, or try to control every move you make, you're doing the same thing as being in a car and slamming the gas and the brake at the same time, which only creates friction. So if you've ever felt like you're spinning your wheels even while doing everything right, this is why. You're trying to force through what was meant to be led by your intuition and self-trust. And research shows that excessive conscious effort actually impairs performance in high-skill tasks because the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, overrides the cerebellum's flow. So you literally get in your own way. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything in your power, but nothing's landing, it might be because you're missing the most powerful tool in psychology, space. Let me explain. In music, silence isn't absence. It's an intentional pause. They call it a rest note, the quiet between the sound that gives the melody meaning. And without it, even the most beautiful song can become noise. In your brain, it works the same way. To demonstrate, a study found that elite performers across different disciplines don't just train harder, they rest smarter. In fact, they take 400% more deliberate breaks to recover versus amateurs, because that's when the brain is able to rewire and elevate its performance. But most of us have internalized overdoing it as our normal. We pack every moment with effort. We shame rest as laziness. And then we wonder why we're overwhelmed, burnt out, and constantly stuck in a mental fog. But when you rest, especially with intention, your brain activates the DMN, home of your insight, creative problem solving, and self-integration, unifying various aspects of yourself, including your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and values, into a more cohesive and harmonious state. So that aha moment you get while driving, that's your DMN doing deep subconscious work. You've probably been told to chase your dreams, but here's what neuroscience tells us. Chasing activates dopamine, the pleasure chemical, and it's the reason we keep seeking satisfaction. Because dopamine provides a motivational surge. It spikes with anticipation. So when you're locked into a constant pursuit, your brain gets hooked on the almost there energy, but never truly lands. This is why success can feel so empty, because the goal keeps changing into something else, which has you constantly chasing. But when you move from fear driven effort into trust based alignment, that's when serotonin and oxytocin step in. Serotonin stabilizes your mood, increases emotional resilience, and creates a sense of contentment. Oxytocin, known as the bonding hormone, helps you feel more connected to yourself, to others, and to your cause. Together, these chemicals do something that dopamine can't. They root you in safety and a feeling of being enough. And believe it or not, people can feel your energy too. This is called embodied cognition. The idea that your body's posture, tone, and energy communicate before your words do. And studies show that nonverbal cues like stress tension, vocal strain, or even subtle eye movement changes are perceived by others in less than 250 milliseconds. So think about when you desperately needed a job and when you finally got an interview. They were able to sense your anxiety and despair. So you don't get the job because when you're chasing from lack, people feel that urgency and your desperation repels them. But when you act from a calm state and alignment, you attract. So which chemical is driving your day? Dopamine or serotonin? You may not know this, but doing nothing on purpose is sometimes the most powerful move that you can make. So instead of acting immediately, you should choose stillness instead. Because when you pause, especially when you're stuck, your brain shifts out of the frantic mode and into the DMN. So when you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or desperate to figure out something, don't force it. Instead, sit still, close your eyes, breathe, and do nothing for just 2 minutes. In your interior cingulate cortex, the brain's internal error corrector will begin to resolve the tension. We often confuse control with strength, but true power comes from the ability to pause, pivot, and trust. So let's break down the steps to make this happen for you. Step 1. Identify fear-based efforts. By asking yourself, am I doing this from fear or from trust? Fear-based efforts sound like, if I don't act now, I'll miss my chance. And if I rest, I'll fall behind. But research shows that reactive effort narrows cognitive flexibility, suppresses creativity, and increases burnout, while on the other hand, trust-based effort feels grounded and allows room for alignment and more clarity. Step 2. Reset your vagus nerve, because this is the remote control for your nervous system. So to shift out of survival mode and into feeling safe, you can activate this nerve with deep diaphragmatic breathing by inhaling for 4 seconds and exhaling for 8. Humming or chanting, which stimulates vagal tone through vibration, or using cold exposure, and even a splash of cold water on your face can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Studies show that improved vagal tone is linked to increased emotional resilience, better digestion, and a stronger immune response. Step 3. Embrace the unknown by sitting with the uncertainty and confusion without rushing to solve or control the problem. Studies on ambiguity tolerance show that those who can sit in those moments of darkness have better decision making, higher emotional intelligence, and greater adaptability. So this week, when a solution isn't clear, don't try to automatically find the answer. Let it simmer and let the answer arise in the quietness. We've been taught that pushing through with force equals progress, but you don't need to prove your worth through burnout. You just need to trust that you are aligned with your highest self, and the answers will come. Because when you stop pushing so hard, the life that's meant for you has space to arrive. So until next time, stay trauma free and take care.